They tested you quietly. And that is what makes this season feel so strange. Not because you were afraid of the truth, but because you were never told there was a test in the first place. No one sat across from you and said, "I need to know if your heart is real." No one gave you a fair moment to explain, clarify, or speak from the depth of your spirit. They simply stepped back and watched. They studied your reactions. They waited to see what pressure would pull out of you. They wanted to know if your faith was only beautiful when life was easy, if your kindness disappeared when you felt ignored, if your discipline broke the moment you did not get the answer you wanted. And you, without even knowing it, kept choosing the narrow road. You kept your words measured. You kept your spirit from becoming poisonous. You did not let disappointment turn you into a manipulator. You did not allow silence to make you desperate, reckless, or cruel. I have learned over the years that real character is not revealed when everything is going your way. It is revealed when your pride is bruised, your heart is tired, and you still refuse to betray what God has been building inside you. That is what they saw. They expected one crack that would justify their fear. They expected one selfish move, one careless sentence, one hidden motive that would let them say, "I knew it. I was right not to trust." But instead, they met a kind of honesty they could not easily explain away. Your truth was not loud. It did not beg to be believed. It simply remained. And sometimes that is the most powerful testimony of all, a life that stays aligned when nobody is clapping, watching, or rewarding it. But here is where many people misunderstand the moment. God did not allow this hidden test because he needed proof of who you are. He already knew. He saw the private choices, the quiet restraint, the prayers no one heard, the tears you wiped away before showing up again with grace. The test revealed something to them, not to him. It showed them that your honesty was not a costume. It was not a performance built for approval. It was the fruit of discipline, surrender, and obedience practiced in secret. C.S. Lewis often pointed toward this kind of inner formation, the slow shaping of the soul through the choices no one else may notice. That is what was happening in you. Every time you chose truth over image, patience over panic, prayer over reaction, you were becoming someone deeper. So do not despise the season just because it felt unfair. Heaven may have used that silent examination to let your character speak louder than your defense ever could. And now the person who thought they were testing you has seen something they cannot unsee. But do not miss this. The test did not begin with hatred. It began with fear. And that fear is what we must face next. They did not test you because they were strong. They tested you because somewhere inside, they were afraid. And I know that may be hard to hear, especially if their silence made you feel judged, reduced, or unfairly examined. But fear has a strange way of disguising itself as wisdom. A wounded heart will often call itself careful when it is really terrified. It will call itself discerning when it is actually expecting betrayal. It will stand at a distance, not because it feels nothing, but because it feels too much and does not know how to handle the possibility that something real has finally arrived. They may have looked at you and felt drawn to your honesty, your calmness, your steadiness, your way of showing up without needing to perform. But instead of receiving it with gratitude, something in them pulled back. The past spoke louder than the present. Old disappointment started whispering, "Do not trust too quickly. Do not believe this. People always reveal another face, so they tested you. Not because you deserved suspicion, but because they had not yet healed enough to recognize safety without questioning it. I have seen this many times. People who have been deeply hurt often do not fear lies as much as they fear believing the truth and being disappointed again. That is why they watched you. They were waiting for your character to fail so their fear could feel intelligent. They wanted one reason to protect themselves. One flaw big enough to justify the wall they had built. One moment where they could say, "This is why I never open my heart." But here is the deeper truth. Pain may explain a person's behavior, but it does not make every behavior righteous. A Christian life requires compassion. Yes, but also responsibility. You can understand someone's wounds without allowing those wounds to become a courtroom where your soul is constantly on trial. God does not ask you to become bitter, but He also does not ask you to abandon wisdom. Their fear was real, but your honesty was real too. And when those two realities met, something had to break. C.S. Lewis's writings often remind us that the human soul is very skilled at hiding from surrender, even behind reasonable-sounding excuses. Fear can dress itself like caution. Pride can sound like protection. But love, real love, holy love, always requires courage. It requires the humility to admit, maybe my past is speaking louder than God's present work. And that is where they are now. Your consistency has forced them to confront the possibility that you were not the danger. Their fear was. So do not rush to condemn them. But do not carry the blame for a test you never agreed to take. Let God handle what is happening inside them. Your responsibility is to keep your heart clean, your habits strong, your prayer life honest, and your spirit surrendered. If this speaks to something you have lived through, write in the comments, "Lord, keep my heart honest even when I am misunderstood." And if this message is helping you see your situation with peace instead of panic, like this video, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what happened next was not weakness. It was revelation. What happened next was not weakness. It was revelation. When they finally understood that your honesty was real, something inside them lost its balance. Not because you gave a dramatic speech, not because you chased them, begged them, or forced them to see your value. The truth simply arrived with its own weight, and they were not ready to carry it. They had prepared themselves to be disappointed. They had rehearsed the ending in their mind before the story even had a chance to breathe. They thought they would find the same hidden selfishness, the same convenient lie, the same double heart they had met before in other people. But your life did not give them that evidence. Your choices did not cooperate with their fear. Your silence did not become manipulation. Your pain did not turn into revenge. And that is when the wall inside them began to crack. I have seen this happen when a guarded heart meets genuine integrity. It often grieves before it knows how to be grateful, because real honesty does not merely comfort a person. Sometimes it confronts them. It shows them how long they have been living behind suspicion. It reveals how many good things they almost rejected because they were more loyal to their wound than to the truth God placed in front of them. They may have cried quietly, away from everyone, not because they were fragile, but because the truth reached a place their pride could not protect. Those tears were not only about you, they were about every moment they doubted what was pure, every time they mistook consistency for a trap, every time they expected your character to fail so they would not have to grow. And this is the deeper truth. Your honesty did not just pass their test. It exposed their prison. It showed them that they had been calling fear discernment, calling distance wisdom, calling emotional control strength, when in reality they were terrified of needing someone, trusting someone, believing that God could still send something sincere after so many disappointments. Your character became a mirror. They saw you standing steady, and suddenly they had to see themselves hiding. They saw you telling the truth without demanding applause. And suddenly they had to face how much they had been protecting an image. They saw you remain kind without becoming weak, and it made their excuses look smaller than before. But do not misunderstand this moment. This does not mean you are perfect, and it does not mean you must place your entire peace in their reaction. You are still called to walk with wisdom. You are still called to guard your heart, but you also need to recognize what God has done. He used your private obedience as a public testimony in someone else's conscience. He used your discipline, your restraint, your refusal to become bitter, to speak a language that no argument could speak. So, if they are shaken now, let God deal with the shaking. If they are silent now, do not rush to fill the silence with panic. Sometimes conviction needs room. Sometimes the soul needs to sit alone with what it has finally seen. But here is where many people misunderstand the story. The silence that came after was not rejection. It was the beginning of something breaking open. The silence that followed was not empty. It only felt empty because you could not see what was happening behind it. You saw no message, no explanation, no sudden confession, no immediate change that proved your honesty had reached them. So, naturally, your mind began to ask questions. Did they even understand? Did it matter? Did I stay true for nothing? But I want you to understand this clearly. Not every work of God announces itself the moment it begins. Sometimes conviction enters a person quietly, sits down in the rooms they have avoided, and starts touching memories one by one. That is what began happening in them. They started replaying moments they had once ignored. The way you answered when you could have exaggerated, the way you stayed calm when they expected you to become defensive, the way you honored the truth even when it did not benefit you, the way you refused to turn pain into punishment. Suddenly, ordinary memories were no longer ordinary. A simple conversation became evidence. A quiet act of patience became a witness. A moment they once overlooked began to carry weight. And this is where many people misunderstand silence. They think silence always means rejection, when sometimes silence means a person has finally run out of excuses. They are not speaking because something inside them is being rearranged. Their old narrative is losing power. Their fear is being challenged. Their pride is being pressed. Their conscience is beginning to admit what their mouth is not ready to say. I have learned that when God deals with a person's heart, He does not always do it loudly. Sometimes He allows them to sit with the truth until the truth becomes impossible to escape. That is why you must not panic in this season. Do not chase an answer just because the waiting feels uncomfortable. Do not break your discipline because someone else is slow to process what God has already revealed. Keep your life steady. Keep praying. Keep working. Keep honoring your responsibilities. Keep becoming the person God has called you to be. See, Isbu. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity that every choice turns the central part of us into something a little different, either toward heaven or away from it. And your choices have been turning you into someone stronger, cleaner, deeper, more surrendered. Their silence does not cancel that. Their delay does not erase what God formed in you. If anything, it proves that what they saw was not small. It was heavy enough to make them stop, think, remember, and face themselves. So if you are in a season where someone has gone quiet and you do not know what God is doing behind the scenes, write this prayer in the comments, Lord. Teach me to stay steady in the silence. Like this video if you believe obedience still matters when nobody explains what is happening. And share it with someone who needs to stop confusing silence with abandonment. Because the deeper truth is this: while you thought they were still testing you, God had already turned the mirror toward them. Now the mirror has turned. That is the part they did not expect. At first, they thought you were the one being examined. They thought the question was, can this person be trusted? Are they really honest? Will they stay consistent when nobody is watching? But once your character answered, the question changed. It was no longer about whether you were real. It became about whether they were brave enough to respond to what was real. And that is a much heavier test, because it is one thing to doubt someone from a distance. It is another thing to admit that your distance may have been fear wearing the mask of wisdom. It is one thing to protect yourself from possible disappointment. It is another thing to realize you may have wounded someone who was never trying to harm you. This is where God begins to deal with the heart beneath the behavior. He is not only asking them, what did you see in this person? He is asking, what did their honesty reveal in you? I want you to understand this clearly. When God uses your character as a mirror, He does not do it to feed your pride. He does it to expose what needs healing, repentance, to courage, and surrender. Your honesty became a standard. And standards have a way of making excuses uncomfortable. Now they have to ask themselves questions they avoided before. Why did I need to test someone who had already shown consistency? Why was I more comfortable doubting than trusting? Why did I prepare for betrayal more than I prepared for blessing? Why did I call my fear protection when maybe it was keeping me from God's gift? And this is where the battle becomes spiritual. Because the enemy loves a heart that keeps delaying obedience. He loves when people recognize truth but refuse to act on it. He loves when conviction becomes only emotion, when regret becomes only tears, when revelation never becomes responsibility. But God does not reveal truth merely so we can feel moved. He reveals truth so we can be changed. I have seen many people lose good things not because they never recognized them, but because they recognized them too late and still refused to move. Real maturity is not just saying, I was wrong. Real maturity is allowing that admission to change your next decision. That is what they are facing now. They are no longer asking, are you trustworthy? Deep down, they already know. Now they are asking, am I humble enough to stop hiding? Am I honest enough to speak without games? Am I courageous enough to meet truth with truth? They can keep their armor and lose the connection, or they can lay down the armor and step into something more honest. But here is what you must not do. Do not make their test your prison. Do not spend your days trying to manage their awakening. Do not lower your standards just because someone is finally realizing your value. Stay surrendered. Stay disciplined. Keep praying before reacting. Keep building the life God placed in your hands. Because your chapter of proving is closing, and their chapter of responsibility is opening. And now we must talk about you. Because God did not allow this season only to expose them. He allowed it to strengthen something in you. But now we must turn the light toward you. Because God did not allow this season only to reveal what was hidden in someone else. He allowed it to strengthen what was still being formed in you. You may have thought the whole story was about their test, their silence, their fear, their delayed realization. But heaven was doing something deeper beneath your own skin. God was teaching you how to remain honest without applause, how to keep your heart clean without immediate explanation, how to keep walking when you were tempted to stop and demand that someone finally understand you. That is not small. That is spiritual formation. That is discipline becoming worship. That is surrender becoming more than a word you say in prayer. It is surrender when you do not chase. It is surrender when you do not manipulate the outcome. It is surrender when you give God your reputation, your timing, your unanswered questions, and your desire to be defended. I have learned that God often builds the strongest people in seasons where they receive the least recognition, not because He is withholding love, but because He is removing dependence. He is teaching you not to live addicted to being understood. He is teaching you not to let another person's confusion become the center of your identity. He is teaching you how to carry purpose when your emotions are loud, how to keep your habits when your heart is tired, how to pray before you react, how to work before you complain, how to stay faithful before you see results. This is where many people lose themselves. They become so focused on who doubted them that they stop becoming who God called them to be. They let one person's silence ruin their discipline. They stop building, stop praying, stop serving, stop growing, because they are waiting for someone else to validate what God already saw. But you cannot afford to live that way. Your calling is too valuable. Your soul is too precious. Your future requires a version of you that is not controlled by every delay, every misunderstanding, every emotional storm. God is not only healing your heart, He is training your responses. He is teaching your mouth when to speak and when to be still. He is teaching your hands to keep working while your mind wants to worry. He is teaching your spirit to rest in Him instead of wrestling with every unanswered detail. C. To Habers. Lewis wrote in The Problem of Pain that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. And perhaps this pain has been a holy alarm, not to destroy you, but to wake up a deeper strength, a cleaner devotion, a more mature obedience. So do not waste this season by becoming bitter. Let it make you disciplined. Let it make you prayerful. Let it make you wise. Let it teach you that healing is not simply the absence of pain. Healing is when pain no longer has permission to govern your character. Keep your schedule. Guard your peace. Build your future. Forgive without becoming foolish. Love without becoming desperate. Stay open, but stay anchored. Let God shape you before He changes the circumstances around you. And if this season has been painful, but you can sense that God is forming something deeper in you, write this prayer in the comments, Lord. Form my character before you change my circumstances. Subscribe if you want messages that strengthen both your faith and your discipline. And share this with someone who is trying to stay obedient while their heart is tired. But do not miss this when God finishes forming your character in the hidden place. He often begins opening doors in the visible place. When God begins opening doors in the visible place, you must understand this. Not every open door is just a reward. Sometimes it is a responsibility. Many people pray for the door, but they do not prepare the character that can walk through it without being destroyed by it. They want the relationship restored, the opportunity released, the apology spoken, the answer finally made clear. But they forget that a new door requires a new level of stewardship. If God allows someone to return with honesty, you cannot meet that moment with desperation. If God opens a new path, You cannot carry old insecurity into it and call it faith. If God brings clarity after confusion, you cannot use that clarity to feed your pride. You must walk through with discernment, humility, and discipline. I have learned that a blessing received without maturity can become a burden, but a blessing received with surrender becomes a calling. This is why God has been forming you before releasing certain things to you. He was teaching you patience before giving you access. He was teaching you restraint before giving you influence. He was teaching you peace before placing you in a situation where your emotions would be tested again. And do not miss this. The door that opens after obedience will not always look dramatic at first. It may begin with a conversation that feels different, a message that carries sincerity, a chance to respond without fear, a new opportunity that asks you to step forward with courage instead of doubt. But when that door opens, you must not forget what the hidden season taught you. Do not go back to begging for what God called you to steward. Do not lower your standards because someone finally noticed your value. Do not punish people with your pain. But do not abandon wisdom just because your heart is moved. Forgiveness is holy, but discernment is also holy. Grace is beautiful, but boundaries can be an act of obedience too. The spirit of C is. Lewis's writings reminds us that God is not simply interested in giving us what we asked for. He is interested in making us the kind of people who can receive his gifts without turning them into idols. So if the person who tested you comes closer, listen for fruit, not just words. Watch for humility, not just emotion. Look for consistency, not just intensity. And if God opens a completely different door, do not be so attached to the old story that you miss the new one. Your task is not to force a specific outcome. Your task is to remain faithful, disciplined, surrendered, and ready. Because the door after obedience is not merely about what you receive, it is about who you have become when you step through it. And this is why your next move matters more than you think. Your next move is not to chase, not to panic, and not to start performing for someone who finally began to see what God already knew. Your next move is to remain honest, disciplined, and surrendered. That sounds simple, but when your heart is tired, simplicity becomes a battle. You will be tempted to explain too much, to check for signs, to read every silence like a verdict, to wonder if you should soften your standards just to make the connection feel safe again. But do not do that. Do not abandon the very character that God used to reveal the truth. Do not become restless at the edge of the door. If God is opening something, He does not need your fear to force it. If God is restoring something, He does not need your anxiety to manage it. Your responsibility is to stay faithful in the part that belongs to you. Pray before you react. Think before you speak. Work on your purpose before you obsess over someone's response. Guard your mouth, because one careless sentence spoken from pain can damage what months of discipline have built. Guard your peace, because not every thought deserves your attention. Guard your heart, because being open does not mean being unprotected. I have learned that the most mature people are not the ones who feel nothing. They are the ones who feel deeply and still choose wisely. So keep your habits strong. Wake up with intention. Return to prayer. Take care of your body. Finish what you said you would finish. Build the skills, the work, the calling, the life God placed in your hands. Do not let one emotional situation become the center of your whole existence. You are not called to be passive, but you are also not called to control what only God can touch. Carnivore, this is the sacred balance discipline in your actions. Surrender in your outcomes. C. Is. Lewis's spirit of thought reminds us that grace does not make effort meaningless. Grace teaches effort where to kneel. Your discipline is not you trying to replace God. Your discipline is how you make room for obedience. Your surrender is not weakness. It is the decision to stop making an idol out of the answer you wanted. So forgive, but do not become blind. Love, but do not become desperate. Be kind, but do not ignore patterns. Stay hopeful, but keep your discernment alive. If they come with truth, meet truth with peace. If they remain silent, keep walking with God. If a new door opens, step forward without dragging bitterness behind you. And if you receive nothing else from this message, receive this: God did not let your honesty be tested so it could be wasted. He used it to reveal, to refine, and to prepare. Your next move is not revenge. It is not collapse. It is obedience with a steady heart. So as you come to the end of this message, I want you to stop carrying